This video is sponsored by Surfshark. In 2008, Robert Kubica won the Canadian Grand Prix for the newly formed BMW Sauber team, which was only in its third season. 2008, similar to 2024, would turn out to be an ultra-competitive season with 7 different drivers and 5 different teams winning races. Despite the fact that Kubica midway through the season was just 2 points behind the championship lead, the BMW board saw the season as already a success, having claimed their first win, and instead of continuing to develop their 2008 car, they decided to abandon the season and instead focus on the new regulations coming in 2009. Kubica would be knocked out of title contention with just 2 races to go, as BMW were outdeveloped by McLaren and Ferrari. In the end, not only did BMW flop in 2009, but as a result of the 2008 financial crisis, within the space of just 1 year they went from winning their first ever Grand Prix to announcing that they would be leaving Formula 1. Robert Kubica, who never again got to fight for another world championship, to this day holds a lot of resentment about BMW's decision to abandon the 2008 title charge, because whilst in their eyes, winning a race was mission accomplished and let's focus on 2009, he knew that title opportunities don't come around very often. During interviews in later years, he said, "I was a bit upset because I felt like we didn't do the maximum to take our opportunity to fight for the World Championship, because I said it might never happen again. You have to use your opportunities because you never know in life when you'll get a second chance." And now, the story of BMW's disastrous decision to abandon the 2008 season is a lesson in seizing the opportunity when it presents itself, because you never know if you'll ever truly get another chance again. The reason why I wanted to share this little mini story to start this video is because after Max clinched the title with 2 races to spare in Las Vegas, during one of Lando's post-race interviews, this story kind of came to my mind when he mentioned not being mentally ready to challenge for the World Championship. The first half, I don't think I was, or we were as a team, mentally ready to be like, oh, now we have to fight against the big boys and execute perfectly. And we paid the price a little bit. And now, to me, these comments from Lando about not mentally being switched on and ready to fight for the title, especially early in the season, is absolutely bizarre. And it's almost the definition of why I think this is the worst title campaign that I have ever seen from a genuine title contender in a car as good as that McLaren. And now, before we get fully into it, I want to say a quick word about the sponsor of today's video, Surfshark VPN. Surfshark is super handy when it comes to watching content that is geo-blocked in your country, like you might have experienced on YouTube or Netflix, or just stuff that's only available to watch in other countries at that time. So for example, as some of you might know, I was recently on holiday in Japan, and whilst I was out there I wanted to keep up with all of the F1 content on the Sky Sports F1 YouTube channel. However, unfortunately, most of their content, including their extended highlights, are geo-blocked for anyone that isn't in the UK. No problem, however, because with just a few clicks using Surfshark's Google extension, I set my VPN to be back in the UK, refreshed YouTube, and that's it. All of the F1 content that I needed, including the brilliant extended highlights, all available on the Sky Sports F1 channel from anywhere in the world. All you need is one Surfshark account, as it can be used on an unlimited number of devices, and by using my promo code, which can be found via the link in the description, you can get a huge discount on Surfshark and get an extra 4 months for free as well. And on top of that, Surfshark also has a 30-day money-back guarantee if you decide to change your mind. So once again, a big thank you to Surfshark. We all know this championship really started in Miami because the first 5 races were a continuation of 2023, with Red Bull having a dominant car. What this meant in terms of points is that after Miami, Lando had a 52-point deficit to overcome. Now, Lando was right when he said after Las Vegas that no one in F1 history has made up a deficit that big, but what he also neglected to mention is that no one in Formula 1 history has had as many races as he did to overcome it as well. 2024 is the longest season in the history of Formula 1 at 24 races, 6 of them being sprints. Now, whilst that comes with a lot of negatives, the advantage for Lando is that even after Miami, there was 18 races still to go. In 2012, Sebastian Vettel managed to overturn a 44-point gap with 10 races still to go, and so comparatively speaking, If you look at the points they needed to score per race, Vettel not only had a bigger challenge, but he also proved that it can be done. So whilst I'm not trying to downplay the size of the challenge that Lando had on his hands, it would be factually wrong to say that it was impossible to overturn a 52-point deficit in 18 races. Between Miami and Las Vegas, in the races that were actually significant for the championship, despite being on pole 7 times, Lando has only managed to win 3 races all season long. Now, I get that he has lost wins due to bad luck, and even sometimes down to his team letting him down, but 3 race wins in that car from the driver who has had the entire team built around him for this exact moment is just massively disappointing. There's lots of things that separated Max and Lando this season, but if there is one thing more than anything else that I want you to take away from this video, it's that Lando wasn't able to win a single race in against the odds circumstances. If you look at the 3 wins that he did have, in Miami he won due to inheriting track position with the help of a safety car, and then in Zandvoort in Singapore, he dominated on tracks where he had the outright fastest car. Other than that, Lando wasn't capable of taking wins away from other drivers when there wasn't that expectation for him to do so. During a competitive season like 2024, when you arrive at a circuit and clearly have the fastest car like in Hungary, Zandvoort and Singapore, those wins should be almost a guarantee. When George and Lewis finished 1-2 in Las Vegas with George 17 seconds ahead of Carlos Sainz, no one was patting them on the back because there was nothing extraordinary about those results given the pace advantage of the Mercedes. Yet when Lando got only his 2nd win in Zandvoort, F1 itself made a massive deal on social media, hailing it as a statement win. Things like that throughout 2024 just reinforced this narrative for far too long that McLaren was still some kind of midfield underdog, despite the fact that they now had a car capable of winning races pretty much every single weekend. That mentality has also been very visible with Lando, who simply hasn't been able to cope with the pressure of expectations. In the past, all he's ever had to be was the underdog, but from the moment that he was given a race-winning car with the expectations to win races and challenge for the title against Max, he started to get exposed and cracked under pressure. This manifested most clearly in his poor race starts. Even before 2024, in the 2 times that Lando has started in first, he had never been able to hold on to the lead after turn 1, but this season, that problem only became worse and worse as the pressure and scrutiny got bigger and bigger. In the sprint in China, he lost out to Lewis. In Spain, he lost out to George and Max. In Silverstone, although he wasn't on pole, he was overtaken by title rival Max. In Hungary, he lost out to his teammate Piastri. In Spa, although again he wasn't on pole position, he needlessly touched the gravel and lost another 3 places on the opening lap. In Zandvoort, he lost out to Max. In Monza, he was overtaken by Piastri. In Austin, he left the inside door open for Max. And then in Sao Paulo, he once again lost out, this time to George. And now, those mistakes and the number of times that it's now happened are inexcusable. Every driver has a rubbish start once in a while, but the thing about those mistakes is that not only did it cost Lando a huge amount of points when you consider how many times he could have won, but with him not being able to maintain pole position, it also put more pressure on the team. It forced McLaren to work harder on the strategy side because Lando kept losing track position, and the problem there is that even when you have a car advantage, it still requires you to be very good in wheel-to-wheel combat and actually be able to get moves done on the track, which Lando just wasn't able to do. A racecraft under pressure would turn out to be yet another key weakness, and there were far too many times where Max got the better of Lando through poor decision making. In 2021 and 2022, it felt like Hamilton and Leclerc were actually able to adapt and stand up to Max in a way in which Lando was never able to do. Even though Max on a few occasions did step over the line, like in Austria and Mexico, especially once mathematically he knew that Lando had more to lose than him, apart from in Zandvoort, I don't really remember any time across this season that Lando actually managed to overtake Max when it mattered most. That portion of the season, as Lando himself has said, was definitely his and McLaren's strongest. But not only was it too little too late, but even during this purple patch, there were still too many mistakes. In Monza, he shouldn't have let Oscar overtake him because that ultimately cost him the chance to win. And in Sao Paulo, not only was it yet another mistake-riddled race after starting from pole, but coming out and then making the "it's not talent, it's luck" comments also looked pretty stupid. And now, none of this is to say that Lando is entirely at fault all by himself this season. F1 is a team sport for a reason, and during a failed championship campaign, there is always going to be some culpability from both the driver as well as the team. I think that we could all tell mid-season that McLaren was very new to having to perform and make crucial strategy decisions when under the high levels of pressure that comes with being a winning team. There is no doubt that in certain races, they definitely cost their drivers points, like in Canada where they didn't tell Lando to pit when the safety car came out, and then also in Silverstone where they strategically fumbled a 1-2. Having said that, as the season has gone on, it definitely feels like that narrative is only really confined to that mid-portion of the season, because after that, although you can criticize them for their handling of the team order situation and whatever papaya rules even was, it doesn't feel like the team continued to make those same crucial strategy errors, as McLaren's pit wall definitely became more and more comfortable racing for wins every single weekend. All of these fundamental errors ultimately created a championship that, in my opinion, never actually started. My frustration with Lando is not necessarily that he lost the title, it's the fact that he lost with 2 whole races still to go, and he never even scored enough points to even put Max under any kind of pressure. Whilst some people might make the argument that the 53-point margin after Miami was insurmountable, the fact is that the points gap after Las Vegas was actually bigger than what it was after Miami. That means that the first 5 races are almost irrelevant, because Max still would have won the championship during the entire period where McLaren had a faster car on average. To me, the most pivotal race of the entire season when I look back was Spain. That was the race where Lando's championship really should have started. Starting from pole position, which was his first of the season, all of the previous disappointments of not winning in Imola and not winning in Canada could have been forgotten about. And had he beaten Max on that day, he could have started to build some momentum during a time when Red Bull, let's not forget, started to struggle until we got to Singapore. Lando failed to capitalize on that day. He failed to start putting Max and Red Bull under pressure, and the poor start he had, which ultimately led to putting himself on the back foot chasing Max, it basically became a metaphor for the championship as a whole. This season, I think both Lando Norris and also Zach Brown have definitely been humbled given what they've said in the past. Whether it's Lando's comments towards Lewis when he was dominating, or Zach's comments towards Max, it's not necessarily that what they said was wrong, because sure, Lando Norris in the dominant 2020 Mercedes or the dominant 2023 Red Bull would be a world champion. But it's the fact that he was making those comments and trying to diminish what 2 all-time great drivers had achieved during a time when he hadn't even won a Grand Prix yet. It's clear that with Lando, there is a sense of expectation and almost entitlement that he has to have a dominant car to be able to win a title. Although this year was his first experience of a title fight, you've got to remember that this is a driver who is in his 6th season of Formula 1. And that context is important because he has had more than enough time to prepare as a driver and also a leader for this exact moment. When Lewis won his first title in 2008 in his 2nd season of Formula 1, and when Max won his first title in 2021 in his 7th season of F1, both of those championships were won in non-dominant cars. That is the hubris that Lando has experienced. It's very easy to talk down about the accomplishments of other people when you've never been in their position, and it definitely humbles you when you bottle a championship when you finally are put in their position. In F1, nothing is guaranteed, and whilst I'm sure that Lando will get a chance to reflect, learn and improve on what went wrong in 2024, and he will be a better driver off the back of the pain and experience that he has had this season. Going back to the story of BMW in 2008, will Lando come to regret not being ready and not seizing the moment when he could have this season? With Piastri only getting better, Ferrari looking stronger, we know Max is always going to be a factor, and a new set of regulations on the horizon in 26, there is no guarantee that Lando or McLaren will find themselves back in this position anytime soon. Having said that, Lando has proved that he has got the raw speed to become a world champion. I mean, you don't just bag 7 pole positions by accident. The question, however, is will he be able to improve on all of the key areas that let him down this season? And will he be able to do it in time before the gates of opportunity shut forever? Well, there you have it. Once again, a massive thank you to Surfshark VPN for sponsoring this video. Do not forget to check out my very exclusive discount by checking out the link at the very top of the description. And once again, a very big thank you to Surfshark. If you did enjoy this video and want to support the channel, then don't forget to subscribe, that would be massively appreciated. And I'll see you in the next one.